Do you feel emotionally connected to your plants? As if in the process of caring for them, they as well are caring for you? What about planty DIYs and thrifting for plant items? If I have your attention, then the Plants by Wade Lee podcast is for you. Join me, plant friends, as we dig deep and experience the magic of plants. Hi, plant people. Welcome to the 18th episode of the Plants by Wade Lee podcast. I am with Leafy Diva, also known as Dana Washington. Welcome to the pod.
Thank you.
I'm so excited to have you here. I have been such a lover of your content. Your leaves are, we talk about big leaves, and I think about Dana Washington's collection. It's insane. So I'm super excited to talk to you about some of your tips and tricks to grow bigger and better, and also get to know you a little bit better and your journey as a plant collector. We started talking briefly off camera, and you had said that you had started as an outdoor gardener.
Yes. So I used to live in Houston. About a little over 10 years ago, I got this huge apartment with this 7th floor exposure and this really long balcony that was the length of the apartment. And I'm like, I need to get things growing here. So I went ahead and I just bought a bunch of plants, and then I got on YouTube and I followed like all of the plant creators that were there at the time. The one that was the biggest though was Epic Gardening and Laura with Garden Answer. And she got me into like container arrangements, and that was it. Most of my free time was spent at the garden center getting every plant known to man and doing balcony arrangements. Like that was who I was. And then I got into vegetable gardening, and that took off for a good 4 years. Now
That's
the pandemic,
so amazing.
Yeah, the pandemic got me into house plants because I was inside all day, and I was just like, let's get some plants growing inside.
So you are added. Let me just make sure I'm plugged in real quick, because it just said you're unplugged. Okay, there we go. So you join a long list of pandemic plant parents.
Yes.
Yeah, I find this so interesting.
So
how the industry just
right
exploded.
No, it really did. So like right before the pandemic, we were doing Airbnb. And so so we own the building. So the apartment that I'm in now was an Airbnb. And so I was tasked with getting all of the house plants for all of the 3 Airbnbs inside, like to style them. And that kind of like whet my taste for them. And then during the pandemic, I just collected and collected and collected. And then I stopped veggie gardening altogether almost. It's crazy.
That's so amazing, Dina, because you see these content creators, right? And you think about their stories like you just make up, and in my mind, it's so funny to like have these conversations with people and realize like, whoa, I was so left field. Like they weren't avid plant parents before, and then it just became like you were literally styling these Airbnbs, and that's where this love for plants came from.
Yeah, and I feel the pandemic is what got me into social media, because I had a lot of downtime because Airbnb was going down the drain because no one was traveling. I'm here in New Orleans, huge tourist city. Most of my friends were like musicians and artists, and so that dried up because people weren't visiting. So we all were just bored most of the time. So I got on TikTok, and I was just like, let me do my first video.
It's so awesome. Cause like looking back even on your YouTube a year ago, your content's so thought through and just well executed. I love watching your videos. And so this is something that like literally just became organic, like through the pandemic and just jumping on social media.
It has, and so What I feel like makes me like unique in my perspective about houseplants is that I had so many years being obsessed with outdoor plants that when I got into houseplants, I realized it's a completely different ballgame. So most of the things that I did in gardening are not what I did with houseplants. So there was a huge learning curve. Like when I first started with houseplants, I was just throwing Miracle Grow in pots and potting up plants and put them inside because I just didn't know
Right.
about aeroid soil, like things like that. So I think I come from that perspective. So people who come from gardening that have problems with houseplants, I'm like, I'm a girl because I went through the exact same thing.
Yeah. Yeah, and there is a very detailed way of caring for houseplants, right? Just so
Yes.
much more than, like you said, throwing it in your regular
Yes.
gardening soil, and bringing it inside. There is much more. And then with the geniuses too, like it can vary from genius to genius as well.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So in New Orleans, we are in zone 9B, which is subtropical. And so we're able to grow a lot of aeroids outside year round, or at least annually. And so elephant ears are what people call alocasia colocasia. I just fell in love with really early on. I mean, I've always had alocasias and colocasias in the garden,
Yeah.
but they're a lot different growing indoors.
Yes, yes, for sure. And that's funny that you say that, because even a lot of my uh ornamental, I don't know if ornamental is the word, but um the like Jacquelines and those kind of allocations, like I have had those indoors and they just are not doing well for me. And so I throw them outside in my, what I call my miracle garden, and it's flourishing. I just saw like the hugest Jacqueline leaf that I've had in my whole time of existence of having it. And I'm like, wow,
Yeah.
this is insane. I'm in 9A, so pretty similar to the growing
Mm-hmm.
conditions. So it is something to be said too. And I think a lot of people purchase these types of plants in the nurseries and the plant stores, and they have these conditions with amazing humidity and light, and then you
Yes.
bring them
Yes.
home and you put them in a bedroom with no window, and you wonder why is this dying. I mean, we really need to uh
Yes.
remember those things when we bring these houseplants home. And I think that you have done such a great job, like with your YouTube videos, explaining some of the ways that what are some of your favorite ways to acclimate a plant once you bring it home?
I'm glad you brought that up because I don't feel like a lot of people really touch on it. So I work in a greenhouse. I work there. I'm the social media manager at Canopy. So at Canopy Plant Co. So I'm in a greenhouse every week. So I see the trucks come in. I see the plants. I see how they're cared for, and then I see what they look like when they get to a person's house. And then the end user or the consumer gets these plants and, like you said, puts them in a completely different environment than the house. Because if you think about it, most plants are going to start off somewhere in South Florida or in California. Those are kind of like the two places on either ends of the country. They get on a truck, they go a day's journey into the nursery, and then the nursery takes them, has them in greenhouse conditions like they were in Florida. And then when they ship them out to you or you go and purchase them, they go into almost a shock because most people don't realize that plants need to acclimate. So you have humidity in the 80s, 70s, and the 80s, and then you bring it to a house that might have humidity under 50%. The temperatures are a lot different, and the type of light that is given to them is a lot different. And also, the soil was made to retain moisture in greenhouse conditions. So that soil dries out a lot faster because most nurseries, they're watering every day. And so when it comes home to you and it's in like a moisture retentive soil, that soil is not going to dry out for a very long time, and it's a recipe for root rot. So it's like I wish people knew more about the journey that the plant takes when it goes from the greenhouse to your house, so they can so they can adjust the steps that they take to have the chance of a better life for their plant.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so interesting because I have recently started um selling plants as well and going to wholesale nurseries, and that is like the biggest thing that I learned right off. I'm like, I have to water these plants even in my back patio greenhouse every single day. Like
Hmm.
and it's not dry. It's just like I don't even know how to explain. You know how what the nursery soil is like. It's like once it gets dry, it's like rock, like lava, and I'm like, what in the
Yeah, because it's
world?
usually like almost an all peat mix with maybe like a small percentage of perlite. And some of the wholesale nurseries have different substrates for different plants. I know there are a couple wholesale nurseries now that are sending like Hoyas in full cocoa core chunks,
Right?
which is really good for to have in the greenhouse, but also to bring into the house, to the home, because those cocoa chunks dry out a lot faster than that condensed peat mix
Yeah.
soil.
Do you put a lot of your plants in self-watering containers?
Yes. Um, self-watering containers have been so good to me. People seem to have some problems with them. I don't know why. I don't know how they're given bad press, but I would not be able to have the collection that I have without self-watering planters. It just couldn't happen.
It's so interesting. And you're also fertilizing that water that you're feeding into
Yes.
those self-watering containers. Yeah.
Yeah, I
What
use
are
Foliage Pro.
okay.
So I
I
use
was gonna
Foliage
say,
Pro
what
for
are
very
some of your
specific.
favorites?
Yeah, I heard that coming. I got it. I got ahead of you a little bit. I use Foliage Pro because people always ask me. I use Foliage Pro, and the reason why I do it is because Foliage Pro has like all of not only like the macronutrients but all of the micronutrients. So it's a complete fertilizer. I know a lot of people who do like semi-hydro. They do the three-part fertilizer system, and that works really really well. But I just didn't want to have to do the three parts. Like I didn't want to have to mix parts when I water. I just want to be able to take a medicine dropper, throw it into a gallon of water, and just water the plant. I am all about efficiency. So that's
Yeah.
why I use Foliage Pro and not some of the other liquid fertilizers.
That's awesome. What is your favorite plant in your collection?
So I was telling somebody right now, I was so into begonias and anthuriums and alocasias, but right now I'm in my Hoya and philodendron era. Okay, I'm straight. I'm gonna give you my favorite plant per genus because I just don't have
Okay.
my favorite philodendron right now is the philodendron Worschwitzkii aurea. That plant is phenomenal. I don't know why more people don't have it in their collection. I'm looking at it now. It's just stuck on the wall. It is ah! My favorite begonia right now. My favorite begonia right now is the begonia brevirimosa, like the pink colored begonia that I have. That thing is a showstopper. I constantly get asked about it, and it grows really well for me. He's struggling now because I decided not to keep the humidity high in my house. I just don't have the humidifier on. Just the heat is too much. I don't want to be
Yeah.
miserable. So the humidity's been low, and that's like a low temperature plant. So he's struggling right now, but in the fall he'll bounce back. And then for Anthurium, probably my favorite one is the Magnificence. I
Yeah.
love him. He gets big.
He is huge. I can't believe the size of your magnificum. It's insane.
Yeah, I love him. Like I want that. My dream when I got it, and I did a video about it, is that I wanted to be able to cover my entire body with a Magnificum leaf, and it happened. And I'm like, yes.
That's awesome. And you started a lot of your plants as cuttings.
Mhm. So when I started transitioning over to semi-hydro from soil, I realized that I would buy these large containers of plants, and it was way harder to get a really mature, established plants into lechuza pond into semi-hydro. And sometimes it's a lot easier to just buy a big plant, take cuttings from that big plant, and get it all going semi-hydro. I think that is like a winning combination because like I said, sometimes mature plants can take a lot longer to acclimate, and then also you tend to lose a lot of leaves, and it kind of stunts your growth until it acclimates.
That's such an interesting point because a lot of times I think I'm on my 4 year journey as a plant parent, and I think a lot of times in the past I'd bought baby plants in hopes to grow them, and I would have the frustration of unliving them or they just didn't do great. So I've been buying big plants that are more mature, but it's interesting to think about. Like I haven't changed the medium or anything, but if I would, like that could possibly be a big issue of a care for a mature plant. That's so interesting. I've never really thought about that.
It could, and to give you some perspective, my alocasia poly that I have, and it was huge. It was 5 years old before I transitioned it to lechuza pine. So it had grown up in soil its entire life, and so when I transitioned it, it just rebelled. It fought back. I lost most of the leaves. It was a very stressful time, and that's what a lot of my mature plants. So I just got to the point where it's just like it's just way easier to get tiny plants. It's cheaper too.
Yeah, yeah.
Tiny plants. Also, another thing about big plants that I've noticed is big plants are more likely to come with pests. That has just been my
Interesting.
experience. When you go to the garden center and you buy big, established, mature plants, they're just way more likely to have pests. I got a fiddle leaf fig, like a large fiddle leaf fig tree. That thing had white flies on it. It had everything, but that's just what I'm used to when I get big plants from the nursery.
Yeah.
And usually those big plants are in the outdoor section. That's another thing. Because I will buy house plants from the outdoor section, but usually the outdoor sections, again, have the most pests. So it's like you have to proceed with caution when you get them from there.
How long have you been with canopy plants?
A little over a year. No, I started last February. So let's see, February, March, April, May, June. Oh my God, a year and a half.
Wow. And this is your first plant job.
Oh my God. Yeah, technically. That's
Yeah.
so funny. Yeah, because everyone's been trying to like get me into a plant job, and I've always been like, this is a hobby. Because when I was really into like outdoor gardening, everyone wanted me to landscape for them, or everyone wanted me to build raised bed gardens, and I would just be like, no, this is a hobby. I don't want to make a living from this. And there we are.
Yeah. Well, you've definitely influenced me. I've purchased marmalade philodendron
I
with your
remember.
from your influence, and I feel like there's something else from your influence too that I was like, "Oh yeah, I need this plant." I can't
Is
think
that a
of what it
Shintria in the
was.
back of you?
Yes. Yes.
That is like my favorite alopecia. Like it's just it's
Yes.
beautiful.
He's doing so good too.
That's
Yeah, and
awesome.
these
I
little
like to
babies.
see that.
I usually film in my plant room, but it's 110 degrees, so I'm like I can't do it. I'll bring some plants in, and is there a plant that you unalive but continue to repurchase because you're so in love with it and you know that you can make it work?
Okay, so I haven't repurchased it yet because I'm afraid, but the begonia iron cross. I believe that that is one of the most stunning begonias I've ever laid my eyes on, and I immediately killed it like weeks after I got it. I think I got it from like Steve Leaves, and I was so excited, and I just killed it. But
Yeah.
everyone says that's a hard plant, and after that, I've never got another Rex begonia, but if I see another iron cross, I will be purchasing it, and we're just gonna have to try until it makes it here because I need that plant in my collection.
Do you have them inside your semi-hydro?
Yes.
Oh, you do.
Um, I do, because begonias are very interesting as far as soil is concerned. A lot of the more quote unquote like tropical or like terrarium begonias, they have really specific needs for moisture. And I noticed that when I have them in soil, like I've had begonias in soil, but getting the watering just right was difficult. And I think that that's why a lot of people don't do well with begonias. So I found having them in a setup where they're consistently moist but not drowning works. Even though there are some begonia varieties that do like to have a dry period, I have just leaned on the like side of caution and just have them consistently moist just to make sure they survive. Because yeah, that's what I was dealing with soil, is if you are not really on top of watering at the right time, you can hurt your begonia. I would rather have them
Yeah.
in water than in soil.
Yeah, yeah. Because I have that problem with like the mushy ends, with the begonia,
Mm-hmm.
and that's because I've let it dry out too long, and then I put a lot of water, and then it's just like sucks it up, and it has nowhere to go but just to get
Yes,
mushy.
and begonia roots are so delicate. Begonias are very special as far as the way that I transition them to semi-hydro. I tend to take a begonia and I will make a cutting and usually put it in water first for like very rare begonias. Other begonias, I make sure that I am very meticulous about just dusting the roots instead of washing them and being very delicate, because there's microscopic root hairs on the outside of the roots. They're just so delicate, and those roots will die on you very quickly. So I usually like to have an intermediate water step. I'm actually going to show you. Like, I
Yeah, I
knew
would
I
love to
wanted
see
to
it.
have props, and I didn't even cut into it. Let me show you. Give
Good,
me
good.
that. So this is my begonia anthoxys. And I had this in
Wow.
water for a really long time. And look, this one right here is dying. He didn't make the transition that well, but this one looks like he's gonna make it. And this is the water transition. So this is what I have them in. And you can kind of see the roots forming right now on this. And so when these roots come out more, then I will transition it to the to pond. I just
To pond.
begonias I'm very particular about when it comes to getting them into semi-hydro. So yeah, I'm looking at more begonias in water, but yeah, I usually put begonias in water first.
That's so great because I have a bunch of at the salon, I have a bunch of begonias in water propagating. So I will because I also have the naked root planters. So I will transfer that into the naked root planter and see how those go. I've been very happy
I
with the
was
naked
going
root
to do
planters.
that.
Yeah.
Me too. I'm just so happy. Like I reached out to the owner because like she reached out to me after I did the video and she's just like, thank you. And I'm just like, no, thank you. like
Yeah.
like your planners are the truth. Like I was just like, ma'am, you have something there. Like, there are so many people in the plant community who are looking for those types of planners and they're just not on the market. And
Yeah.
lots of people don't have the choose the money.
Right, exactly. I was just looking around because I have a bunch of allocations in them that are doing amazing. I'm like so impressed. And the root system, like within even like 2 or 3 weeks, I see the roots coming off through the bottom. It's insane.
Yes. Oh, let me slide over here. I have something else to show. Oh, I don't have to slide very far. Hold on. Don't fall, don't fall, don't fall. Okay. This is This is the Bob C. philodendron that I have in the Naked Roots planter, and this thing is just doing so well. The roots are starting to come out, but it's in pond. It's in pond in the Naked Roots planter, and it's doing phenomenally.
It's awesome.
I love it. I
Yeah.
know. I get excited about things like this.
Yeah, me too. Well, and I love the colors. There's so many really beautiful colors to choose from that any aesthetic that you have, you could just pop these in there. And they're easy. They're so easy, which is so awesome.
Yeah, I think so too. They really, really got something good.
Yeah, well, she said that they spent years innovating it and redoing it, and they're perfect.
That's
So
And you know what? And so, I mean, and you know this because you've had experience with this company, but just the idea that they were just like, hey, use it first, like it, love it, and then do the review on it. I was just like, yeah, that this is a company who believes in their product.
yeah, yeah. It's funny enough. I actually purchased them first, and had a few, and they were so kind to send more because she's like, Wade, you need to get on the affiliate team. Like, I loved what you did as well with your post, and I was just like, wow, thank you so much. It's very rare that like
Yes.
a company that after I've even purchased it, they're like, well, let me just send you some more. And you're right, they are the real deal. I have seen so much growth, new growth, and the root system is just awesome. And it's a no-brainer because I get in that funk of having so many plants and not realizing that I'm not watering every single one at a time, and then you
Mm-hmm.
forget one in the back, and then it's too late. So these planters are a safe bet for caring for the plants. So I
They
with
really,
that
really
is,
are.
are there any other holy grail plants products that you really love?
Okay, so as far I hate moss poles, I always have. But I recently, no, not recently, but some months ago, got one of those Rousseau poles, from Rousseau Plant Care, and let me tell you, that's a nice, nice, nice moss pole. And I'm looking at my worst whiskey hour, and like I put one of my best plants in it because I was so impressed with it, and I really,
Really?
really think this is a quality moss pole, and it's aesthetically. Can I know I'll be moving around a lot. Let's
Yeah,
see.
yeah, you can
Can
move it
we
because
see
I
it? Can you
I
see
haven't
that?
seen them yet. Oh yes,
Hold on, let me make sure we're getting a. Yeah, yeah, that's it.
yeah, that's
It's just so
amazing.
nice. Yeah, and so with that one, I usually choose a pine, and I usually choose a pine, but then there's a mixture of moss and pine in the actual moss pole. So
And that's in a self-watering container as well.
yes, it is. Like I
Yeah.
said, all of my plants are. I can't. The only plants that I don't have in self-watering planters are my cacti, my euphorbia, and my money tree.
Yeah.
It just I have several. I have like three different types of self-watering planters, so I water them differently. And also, when I am newly transitioning something over to a self-watering planter with pond, I sometimes will only water from the top, not use the reservoir at all until I feel the roots are established, and then I'll start watering it from the reservoir.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes
I'm glad I
lots of
was going to
sense.
talk to you about this because I don't really get to say all this in videos because they have to be so compact and tight for time.
What about any heirloom plants? Have you been gifted any plants from friends or family that have been in generations long?
No,
No.
don't tell anybody. I have gotten plants and I do not have them right now.
I love you.
I, I,
this is this is great. This is where, this is the part of the podcast where I'm supposed to have my Oprah moment and hear some beautiful story of the plant, and you're like, yeah, nope, I did, but
yeah, I actually tell people like don't gift me plants. I don't have. There's not one plant that I've had for forever that I've now gotten tired of. Like there just isn't.
yeah,
I People were really mad at me because I cut up my alocasia poly because I'd had it for 7 years, and I'm just like, I am done with it.
and then when you cut them up, do you gift them out? You're like, no, what do you do? What did you do with that? You're like, I just cut it up, threw it in the backyard.
All
This
right.
is
So
awesome.
I don't have patience at all. And when I'm done with the plant, like if the plant's getting on my nerves, I want to go now. So I will either call a friend, like my neighbor, she'll take those plants. And if she won't take them, I'll just put them outside. I live in a hood. Someone's going to come and pick the plant up.
Yeah,
Someone's going to pick it up. But like,
that's great.
yeah.
That's awesome. Um,
I know. I can't say on videos because people get mad. Like, people get really, really mad.
like, what do you mean you just are done with it? What
Yeah,
a
yeah. They're like, who did you be? I'm just like, there are just too many plants in the world for me to just be focused on one. Like I've had my kangaroo paw moss for years. We're talking so many years, almost 10 years now. And just a couple months ago, I was like, I'm tired. Like, it's time for something else. So I probably won't be that person that's going to have the same plant for the next 25 years. It's just
I
not going to
love that.
happen. I like change.
With your plant shopping at work, do you bring plants home all the time?
Yeah. Okay, okay.
Yeah,
So we have a segment called What's Growing on the Greenhouse Floor, and that interests me way more than the plants that we get in the shops.
yeah,
Because
yeah,
because there are all of these plants that just fall somehow onto the ground of the greenhouse, and then they just start growing and having a whole life of their own. And so this begonia amphioxus was one of them. So both of the ones that I had, I took cuttings from off of the greenhouse floor. I
like,
do get plants from them once a month, and that's usually a very tough decision to make because there's just so many plants. Just
yeah,
too many.
yeah. There is too many. Oh my gosh, right? Do you have a
I want one
caramel
so bad.
marble?
Even with my employee discount, it is way too much.
Yeah,
Even with an employee discount, it's too much. It needs to come down some more. And I am so surprised. The resale value on that caramel marble is great because they're still extremely expensive.
yeah,
There are so many plants on my wish list that I want, but like I said, my discount doesn't even make a dent in the price.
yeah. Well, and I've just learned, like, in the last 4 years too, that like, just chill, Wade. Like, just chill. A big box brand is going to release the plant at $29.99. You don't have to. I've, I've spent like even the marmalade that I got, I like saw it weeks later for a lower price, and at the nursery, and I'm just like, this is insane. Like the amounts of money that changes so easily and so fast. Um, I was talking to
It's hard.
yeah. Yeah, I was talking to Camille Bell Hill, Plant Blurred, and she had said that like years ago,
I
the
love her.
I love her. I adore her. But she was telling me that like right before the pandemic, the ZZ Raven was like hundreds of dollars, and I'm just like, what? That is insane. And even Cyril from Cyril Cybernated, he as well said too, like back in the day, just the regular Monstera Deliciano was like hundreds and hundreds of dollars just for the green variety.
I got in like super early in the pandemic. So my Raven ZZ was from like Costa Farms. I got it from Home Depot and it was like 14 bucks.
Yeah,
And my Monstera was like really cheap too. And then all of a sudden the prices just started going crazy. But
yeah,
unfortunately, some of the plants that I want right now are still really expensive. And like the caramel marble I want and it's too expensive. The there's an Ethereum Renaissance variegated that I would love to have. It's on the top. Still too expensive. And then the Burl Marks Flame, the cheapest I could find a nice one is $279. And I am not paying that type of money for a plant.
yeah. Yeah, it's got to be hard too being in the industry and seeing uh seeing how things fluctuate that you wouldn't just go buy the plant. Because sometimes I'm just like, I can't. I have to have it. I have to have it now. Here's $3.99 for a pink princess. And
Sometimes you
same.
gotta have what you gotta have. The
But
heart wants what it wants.
it does. It does. And I'm with you though. Like I had that for a couple years and it was huge, big, and I got tired of it too. And I cut it apart, and now I have pieces growing in my backyard here and there, and a couple friends have some nodes. But yeah, I've learned my lesson big time, I think, with like spending that kind of capital on plants, just because there is going to be something new right around the corner that
Yep.
is growing
Have you
right
been?
now.
Have you visited Perfect Choice Nursery in
No,
Fort
not yet.
Lauderdale?
No, not
Oh
yet.
my goodness. The arid greenhouses portion of Perfect Choice Nursery is just temptation. It's too much.
Yeah,
It's the
it's like a
Garden of Eden in
museum,
there.
right? It's insane. I've seen videos, but it's so beautiful. Talking about
It
that, so
is.
like you travel to the plant shows. Could you explain like
Mhm.
what like a typical day at a plant show would be for someone who hasn't went before?
So I've went to so all the plant functions I've been to, I've either been like speaking like the guests there are like their industry events. So earlier this year, TPIE was an industry event. And so that was mostly for like wholesalers and growers and like business to business meetings for people to like, nurseries matching up with wholesalers, plant manufacturers, like plant product manufacturers, working with garden centers, that type of thing. And that
Yeah.
was great because you get to see all of the new things that are going to come out for the beginning of the year. So I know a lot of people like going to like the IAS, the International Airway Society thing once a year, but I got so much from going to TPIE because you get to see what the vendors are seeing first. So you get to like have this sneak peek into what plants are going to be popular for the spring season of that year. And it's just really cool. So when I went, we were able to see so many plants that we had never seen before because they were being marketed to plant companies and garden centers to sell. So I felt a part of something really special. And I
Yeah.
only got there, but yeah, because it's a vendor. Yeah, it's a great. I suggest anyone go to TPIE. And then there were some other plant creators there, and we just had so much fun. Costa Farms had a huge display. Yeah. The
Yeah.
cool thing about it is that at the end of the show, most of the vendors don't want to take their plants back home. So they sell like either entire displays or plants, individual plants for very cheap prices.
Wow.
So if you're there on the last day of the show, you can come out with some winners. Like Unique Nursery was there, and they had some really cool plants that all the airway companies that you're used to ordering from online and things like that, they're there. And those like Costa Farms, all these companies, they're just there. Airway Greenhouses is there, Perfect Choice Nurseries, and they just sell their entire display.
Did you bring any plants home?
No, because that was my first year there. I was not privy to all of the plant sales. Do you know Plant Daddies? I think it's Plant Daddies Atlanta. They were there, and I think Mossify, they bought like their entire display. Like, people were backing trucks in to the convention center after it was over with to haul all of the display plants they purchased. Next year I'm coming out with some plants. Perfect Proven Winners was there too, and I'm a huge fan of them, and they had like a huge display. I said I was a menace in school.
A menacing wolf. Yeah.
Yeah, I
You
couldn't
and me
sit
both,
still.
my friend.
I can only imagine.
I'm a hairdresser, so I always get in trouble for playing with the girl's hair and head in front of me. Like every year, every grade, didn't matter. It's insane. And I was like, I'm not gonna be a hairdresser. Like, no way. And then that's been my profession for the last 25 years.
Like tells you what it wants you to do.
Exactly. Well, do you have any projects coming up for in the
Yes.
near future that you want to share with that you want to share with the viewers?
My project is what I really want to talk about. I partner with the company who does these living walls. And so I got a living wall. It is the size, I got a smaller one. So it's like the size of a large portrait that I'm going to hang on my wall. And it has space for 12 planters. And so I'm going to have a wall display of greenery. And I just think, oh, I've been wanting one of those living plant walls for like the longest. And I finally,
Yeah,
a company reached out to me and was like, you know, we're in Europe, we make these things, we're coming over to the US. And I was just like, count me in. Okay. And I'm excited.
that's
I'm
awesome.
excited.
When will
Another,
that project be coming out?
I haven't picked the package got delivered. I haven't picked it up yet. And then I got to go to Canopy this week and pick up the plants for it.
So
I'm
it's
going to
coming
do it
up.
all. Yeah, it's gonna come up soon, so that's gonna be fun. And then I'm gonna get my Thai constellation growing up my wall. The wall behind me, I'm gonna have my Thai constellation growing up. So that is going to take getting the aerial roots planted. Because I'm sitting over here. This is one of the aerial roots to the Thai constellation that you can't even see in the frame because it's so far away. But that's how crazy the aerial roots are. So I'm gonna get them potted up
Wow.
and rooted, and then I'm gonna get I have a huge lechuza planter, and I'm gonna get them planted. And then my next project, and I'm gonna turn the camera around. This is that's my begonia wall. You see it?
Mm-hmm.
Can you see it? Yeah, that's my begonia wall. I will be using that to I'm gonna be growing that out as well. And so I have a YouTube video coming on that soon.
Awesome.
I always have a project going on, like always.
Yeah. It's insane. I'm always so impressed with all of your plant projects. They're usually not even throw a tranium together. It's like this huge, massive,
Yeah.
like it's going up the wall kind of
Yes.
project,
And
which I love.
that has always been the case because when I was doing balcony gardening, my balcony could be seen from the street because I was on the 7th floor. I had these potato vines that went all the way down to like the 3rd floor, and the apartment people were like, "You got to stop." So I have I'll just see you pictures. I had a huge just balcony display because I would just make these big elaborate planters. I have petunias of every color in the balcony planters. I had a what I call a chili tree that I would decorate because I had cayenne pepper growing and it got me. I'm about a big project. Your girl loves the project.
I love that. And yes, please send me those pictures because I would love to see. When I first had gotten into plants, I had a balcony, and not a very big balcony either, and it was insane. People from the street were always like, "I know where you live because it's the place with all the plants." Like my clients driving past this my apartment to go to the salon would be like, "Oh, yeah, I know where you live. I can see it. I can see it from the street,"
Yeah,
which is insane.
yeah. I mean, I just really like that stuff. And then I got into it's a touchy topic. I got into cloning because a lot of plants, like proven winners, they do sterile plants where you can't get seed off of them. So that's how I got into like propagating and cloning plants. And so I got really into like just making more of the plants to save money.
That's awesome. And how did you learn about this, Dana?
YouTube,
Yeah, that's
YouTube, and
insane.
hanging out at garden centers. Um, as far as the gardening world is concerned, I feel like gardening is a much larger community than houseplant gardener, like houseplant people are, and so I embraced all of my elderly neighbors and people that were really into plants. And as a young person, when I was really young, they wanted to help me out. They were like, "It's great that a person your age is so into gardening." And I was getting all kinds of help. I was getting help from neighbors. I was getting free plants from neighbors. And people would come by and be like, "Hey, it looks like your gardenia needs some iron. I have some." And it was just the gardening community embraced me really, really like hard because they were like, "We like that you love this stuff."
Yeah,
No, I was saying honestly, like when I'm having a really, really bad day, Canopy usually restocks every Thursday. And so when I come in, I'm usually like greeted with greenhouses full of plants that weren't there the week before. And that is just such a good feeling to what, and then I get the restock list before I go in, so I know what plants are going to be there. And just walking into the greenhouse and seeing plants for the first time is just like amazing. Whatever mood I'm in is changed when I'm
I
there.
need I need to get a job like this. I
I don't even
need
know
to.
how I lucked up on it
Come
because,
on.
like I
How do I
said,
get a
it's just
social
a
media job at a nursery? This is what I was born for.
right. They didn't know either. One of the owners had reached out to me and he was just like, we're having an open house. Like, what are your rates for just, doing the open house? And I told him, I'm like, look, I'm not going to charge you anything. I'm just going to come, right? I don't think I charged him. Yeah, I don't think I charged him. I said, I'm going to come in. If this is a good deal, if it works out, we can negotiate something later. And after I left, it worked out really, really well. And then weeks later, I was negotiating being their social media manager and doing a live for them once a week. And so, yeah, I just happened into it because my primary job is real estate. And so this is all just, as you say in the world, this is all lanyard for me, actually.
Wow. It's, you like just made my mind go, wow, this is amazing. This is where people talk about, get your money in all different avenues of life. And I love that. I really love it. Because like I said, you have these preconceived notions. And Nina's been a house plant girl her whole life. She's went to culture school and she's worked with Canopy and built, like, it's just so awesome to hear, like, no, I'm just a boss and manifested my life. I love it. I love it so much.
I hate to say it, like one of my favorite quotes from like Kim Kardashian is "fake it till you make it," and that has been a really good thing for me because it's, honestly, whatever I've decided that I wanted to be in, I just went in head first and learned everything that I could because most of my career has been in corporate sales, which is a job that again I never knew that I would have, and then here
Yeah.
I am, and I don't know where I'm going to be like the next 10 years from now. I could be giving scuba diving classes in Aruba. We don't
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
Seriously, like this is a great country. I hate to even go to this. This is a great country to live in. There are not many places where you can literally just have a dream and you just work towards it and it just happens. That's
Yeah.
just it's insanely crazy. Like I've been in so many different lanes just because I've had a passion for them. Like 15 years ago, and I still am, was an avid salsa dancer. And then I found myself going across the country, the world, to European conventions and things like that, dancing Latin salsa. I don't even speak Spanish.
Wow. That's awesome.
Yeah. So and anyone can do it. You just have to have a dream and you have to go after it and you literally can do it. Like it's just not even special. You can do it.
Yeah. Yeah, I can relate with that. I, worked behind the chair in the salon and was like, I'm going to New York and working in fashion. And everyone's like, what do you mean? And I'm like, nope, I'm selling my car, I'm selling everything I have. And there I was, week after week, hustle after hustle, yes after yes after yes. No pay, yes. I'll be there, like if it's going to give me experience, connection, yes, I'll be there. And there I was doing hair for the Met Gala and the cover of Vogue's and working with the biggest fashion teams in the world. It's just insane. You're right. You can do anything.
And
Anyone
I'm glad
listening?
you said that
Yeah.
because working in New York, a lot of people think that it's difficult, but if you have the right mindset, like if you are a go-getter and you are assertive and aggressive about what you want, you can open up a spot.
Yeah. People were
You
like,
can
how
open
did you
up a
do it?
spot.
And I said, I came early and I left late. That's how I did it. Like I showed up early and I was the last one to leave. And you're
That's
right.
yes. Yes, like you don't leave when the job's over. You leave when the work is done.
That's right. That's right. You know, it doesn't happen overnight, and a
Yes.
lot of those overnight
Yes.
things that happen, they're not substantial. They don't last.
Yes.
But, you know,
And then
so
you don't have what it takes to sustain that success when you got it so fast.
right, right. And that just shows too, like with how you're able to, you know, book this job with Canopy. I mean, you didn't go to school for horticulture, but yet you showed up on YouTube day after day, doing the trials and errors, trying different mediums, trying to like have the knowledge and the respect that you do in this plant community. It it speaks
And
volumes
being
to
a
what you can do.
sponge. Yeah, because
Yeah.
one thing that too, when I first got into plants, a lot of the newer plant people during the pandemic, they would be really like in their feelings because a lot of them old heads that have been in it for a long time weren't the nicest.
Right.
And again, I'm used to that type of personality, and I realize that sometimes the best people to learn from, they're the hard asses. They're the ones that are not going to be easy on you. And you just have to humble yourself. And I know that's really difficult to hear, but like if there's an elder and that person has done more in that genre of like whatever, then you've even been alive. Who cares if he's not talking to you the way you want it? If he's not talking nice to you, or if he's not like kissing your ass, like you need to learn from him and you'll get better. Like you'll get better. So any person who is willing to teach me, I would humble myself and just be a sponge.
Yeah.
And
That's
I think that's
awesome.
why I have so much buy-in from some of the like people that are more established, is because I've always been a student. I still am. All I would like to say for like beginners or people that are just getting into plants is to not get too overwhelmed and not to be too focused on making mistakes. And then the third one is not to focus so much on products or purchasing so many things. Just starting off slow. Taste like hell. Take some garden soil from out of your backyard. Put some pearl. Just start practicing and experimenting, because a lot of times when you hear more advanced plant advice, there nothing's gonna make sense to you. And sometimes it's just easier to have a little bit of knowledge and experiment for yourself. And then later on, that more advanced teaching starts to make more and more sense to you, and you know what to tweak and you know what to keep. And your plant life is just gonna be so much easier and so much less expensive.
Yeah.
And that's all I got.
That's great advice. I have one more question that I hadn't
Sure.
asked you, and we'll end with
Sure.
this. Uh, through your plant journey, do you feel emotionally connected to your plants? Do you feel that your plants give you a sense of self-reflection?
Honestly, I haven't figured it out yet. I really haven't. I asked myself that. My parents asked me that. A lot of people ask me that because I'm a hobby hopper. I am into a new hobby all the time, and plants and dancing have been the longest hobbies, and I can't explain either of them. Plants just, you know what? You never get bored because there's so many different genuses, starting with outdoor plants, from one day saying that I would never grow a plant that I couldn't eat. So then, and that's a whole different animal. So it's something is never old and never gets old. There's always a project. There's always something new. So for people like me who are like real ADHD and hobby hoppers and all this other stuff, if I'm hopping, it's usually from genus to genus, are from outdoor plant to indoor plant, but there are just so many small like niches within plants that can keep you interested and obsessed.
Yeah.
Who
So
knows?
good.
We don't know. We might be growing water. We might have a pond in the backyard one day and growing water lilies. We don't know.
Right. Thank you so much, my love, for joining me. I really appreciate you having this conversation. It was so
Thank
fun getting to
you.
know you. I will love to have you back again.
I would love to be back. This is a really cool conversation. I like talking to people about plants, as you can
Yeah,
tell.
great. And then where can everyone find you on social media?
I am everywhere, okay? You can find me on the Leafy Diva at TikTok. You can find me on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube.
Bye, my
Bye.
love. Hi, plant people. Thank you so much for tuning in to the 18th episode of the Plants by Wadley podcast. I had learned so much plant chatting with Dana Washington, aka Leafy Diva. Make sure to follow her on all of her socials. Next week for the 19th episode, I'm going to be doing a influenced influencer addition to the podcast, where I'm going to be sharing all of my favorite planty items that I have been influenced by in the plant community. So you don't want to miss that. Remember, be kind to yourself and others. And if you want that plant, buy that plant. Till next week, bye-bye.